Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Light Helmets Investor Webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited. I'm Sarah Hardwick. I'm your host today. We're here with our CEO of Light Helmets, Nick Asayan, and a very special guest, Tony Romo, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, one of the most trusted voices in football, an analyst for CBS Sports. We have the pleasure and the honor of having Tony join us today. So welcome, everyone. We're going to give everyone just a minute or two to get on in. How's it going, Tony? Welcome here.
It's going good. Just in the middle of football season. It's been off to a good start. CBS doing a great job, our whole team and everything, and excited to be here and raising three boys here. So I'm just taxi cab driver these days.
Oh man, how old are your boys?
Taking my boys to practice, picking them up from school, all the fun stuff.
How old are your boys?
13, 11, and 8. So.
Oh man, I have an 11-year-old boy. That's another conversation for another time because I've got lots of questions for you. But so wonderful. It's so great to be a parent. And actually, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is in the context of being a parent and talking about football and talking about safety and talking about you being a dad. So I do definitely have a couple questions for you along those lines today. So let's get started with Nick. Nick, can you please tell us, I know it sounds like you and Tony go way back. You've got some stories. We're not going to share all of those, please, today on the call. But tell me a little bit about how you first met Tony. Tell me about what some of those early days were like.
So Tony and I have intersections back to both of our youth in southeastern Wisconsin in the same general geography. I think the first time we met, 2016, at the premiere of the 13 Hours movie, which rolled out at Texas or the Cowboy Stadium. And Jerry Jones was good enough to work with Michael Bay to do a premiere for an awesome film that depicted what went on in Libya or in Benghazi. And there were a whole host of celebrities there, of which I was not one, but had an opportunity to meet Tony, and our lives have crossed in other areas. We have a lot of common friends. In fact, Tony's college career actually started alongside of another friend of mine who played quarterback at the same school. But long story short, Tony's been a valuable part of the Light family, an investor, an advisor. We're thrilled to have him. And, I can only say that in a lot of these cases, people are at home. They don't get an opportunity to interact with some of the people that they see on television. And I would say that anyone's expectations would be, exceeded in the interactions, at least that I've had with Tony.
I would totally agree. They would totally exceed your expectations, everyone. But now Nicholas is right. It's been great. And I think that's a big reason you want to get around people that you trust and know what they're doing. And I think you see that firsthand with Light. There's no question about that.
You're muted.
I think you're muted.
Oh, man.
There we go.
I knew I was going to do that.
This has happened so many times on production meetings. Jim Nance will be talking and they're like, and he's laughing. He's going, ha, ha, ha. And we're like, I'm sure it was a great joke, Jim, but
you're muted.
We didn't hear it.
I'm glad I was the one to do it, at least to save you guys that. But so actually, Tony, you kind of answered a question that came in early from one of our viewers, which I'll start with right now. So why did Mr. Romo feel the need to back this amazing football product? How do you feel it may or may not impact the future of football for all ages? So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into investing with a company. And I think this one's close to home for me because I played football. As I got older and as I was in the NFL, it became apparent that concussions, things of that nature became a really important thing that I didn't think about as a kid. Like, it wasn't in the mainstream and it wasn't somewhere that you thought of as like a helmet you picked out. Now, when I take my kids and we're going to pick out helmets or like the team, it's almost like my oldest just started playing tackle football for the first time. And it's funny because it was like, what are our thoughts that's important to a helmet, right? I was like, now I want to do my own little focus group almost in our little area here. But it's funny how Light just hit so many of the demographics as far as what I believe in. And I think once that started to take shape, it was like, this is a really great company who's doing it the right way. And I just want our kids to be safe. And I can tell you one thing, they want a lighter helmet. I don't think you realize kids have littler heads than me. And I think they really do care about how it feels. I mean, I called Preston yesterday, another guy with us, and I was telling him, I'm like, it's amazing how they talk about comfort, comfort. And I'm like, that's exactly what I thought. And I was like, I was in the NFL. I was like, I want it to be comfortable. I don't want to like have to have this feeling of like, oh, all the time. So having a comfortable helmet that is as safe as you can get, I'm like, as a parent and as a kid, it's a home run, like on both sides. And I was like, I just want parents to feel like their kid is going to be safer. And I think that being with Light, I think that's apparent on all fronts with all the data that's come across.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to ask you a little bit more about kind of how you evaluated the risks and everything like that. Nick was wondering like what Mrs. Romo thought about your kids playing football. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
My wife is great. I think it's one of those things where there is that time frame where there's a huge risk that goes into the kids playing football. So I tell my kids, all right, as the guy who played football, I just learned, I was like, you don't get better at playing football because you played in fourth or fifth grade. Can you play tackle football? Yes. There's flag football now. There wasn't that 24/7 when I grew up. So it's like you can play football at a young age without playing tackle football. However, I do think that you have the ability to still be great at football without playing tackle football at a young age. Now, if you're going to play it, let's be as safe as possible. And I think the collisions are a little less, but you just always go back to the data and you go look at that. And that's why Light is amazing. The data speaks for itself. And I just, my wife is like, well, the boys are wanting to play in fourth, fifth grade. I said, here's football in a nutshell. Speed ball, go get ball on defense. It's a game of tag. It literally is a game of tag. How do you run and go tag somebody? And then on offense, it's get away from the guy with tag if you have the ball. It's all angles and leverage. And so to me, it was like, believe me, when you put the pads on, you're going to be just fine. You know, don't start junior year. I'm not saying that, but the truth is you don't have to play in third, fourth grade. But if you do, it's okay because you just want to be safe. And I think the helmets have gotten so much better, you know, and Light's obviously at the forefront of that. But I think to me, you know, I'd be far more comfortable now if it was 5 years ago with where the helmets are. But that was a real issue 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago, where it was like everyone was a little scared. It's like, well, I don't want my kid to do this. It's like he could have that. It's like, well, it's a lot safer now based on the product that we put out.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to go back and forth, Tony, a little bit because we have a bunch of fans here that are all attending, and we have a lot of fan related questions. So I'm going to ask you some of those, but I'm also going to tie it back to what we're doing here in Light and, you know, kind of why it's important. So you started in a small, tiny town, and Nick mentioned it, of Burlington, Wisconsin. So this is one person who wrote in, who's here, I'm sure, on the call, and he said, no sarcasm at all. Please don't take this sarcastically. You're the best quarterback ever, in all caps. What do you think makes you so great? Like, what is it in you that inspires you to do what you do? What is it that makes Tony Romo so great? I'd love to hear the answer to that.
Well, I think the first part of that is obviously he knows football at a high level. To say that, I mean, obviously he's watched it at a high level to say I'm so good. But you know, I was really fortunate. There's so many moments that could have gone either way, and I had to perform in certain games, and that allowed me to get more opportunities. And then I was fortunate enough to obviously be the quarterback for the Cowboys and have a career that, you know, as a kid, it's crazy. And obviously, it's always going to hurt me that I didn't bring a Super Bowl to Dallas. But removing that, I think that it's just one of those gratitude I have for what the Lord's provided and everything. What makes me special? Is that what you're saying?
He's saying, what makes you so great? And no sarcasm. Like, what can we take from where you've come from and what you've done and your journey, which is amazing. And what is it in you that's inspired you?
I think there's a few answers to that. I think number one, and I teach my boys this, I'm like, certain things you didn't do anything for. So you don't boast in who you are. And so I teach them, hopefully they'll be this way, and they have been so far. But I'm like, my family, my dad's 5'8", my mom's 5'6". I'm like, I didn't do anything to be 6'2", 6'3", right? I was born, and the good Lord blessed me with certain gifts. I had the ability to see and react instinctively, have spatial awareness, I call it, at a high level. I didn't do anything for that. I was just born. So I'm like, right there, it's like, don't sit here and talk about how great you are and everything, because the truth is you were born with certain things. Now, did I work, I'd like to think, as hard as anybody ever? Yes, that's what I feel like. I wanted to be great. I worked so hard at it, and I studied it cold. And the funny part was, there's two facets to playing quarterback, I feel like. It's your craft of throwing a ball. If I could throw the ball exactly where I wanted to, 30 yards away, 40 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, 50 yards, and the ball goes exactly where I want it, where I could literally throw that into and hit that glass sitting on a table 30 yards away, it's really hard to defend any capacity. So if I could throw it exactly into one spot. So I worked forever. It felt like it took 12 to 15 years before I could perfect that craft, because I was behind, because I didn't pick up football till later. But when I did, once I started to get that, the game got easier. And that all of a sudden helped, because it was like, he's covered, but he's not if I throw it right here. And now all of a sudden it's like the defender can only reach to here. And so that ball can be caught. And so that was a big part of the craft aspect. The second part was learning the game at such a level to where your eyes start correctly at the snap. The game is played really fast, especially in the NFL. Set hut, you've got 2 seconds, 2.5, if you're lucky, 3 seconds. Set hut, 1,000, 1,000. The ball's got to be out. So if your eyes start to the wrong side because you don't know coverages, because you don't know the look, because you don't know where to start. Oh, wait, cover 2 side was that side. And I looked over here because I thought it was cover 3 by the disguise. By the time I get back here, I've already missed the one window. And now I'm late to everything. And now I'm not a good quarterback. So the idea was to perfect my craft throwing it, and then to learn the game at the highest level and just study it cold over and over and over again. And I think that's part of the reason that I developed, and got better each year.
Yeah. If you look back at those times, is there like a word of advice that you would give to your younger self that we can also give to our kids? I say that selfishly, but what is it that you told, like, back in the day, like, what would you say, and how can we impact our families and our kids and people who love the sport like you do?
It's funny you say that. I literally am doing that with my kids right now. It's like, and believe me, I only get like 1 minute, maybe 2. So it's like, it's amazing how somebody else will come over, like the coach, who's a really good coach, let's say, right, for the team. But let's pretend I know a little more football than him in 6th or 7th grade, and let all the way up, we'll say. But when he says something, he'll be like, Dad, he said this. I was like, wow, that's amazing. You've never heard that before. He goes, you never told me. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we just like only since birth? But I'm not like a satellite dad. I just sit there and I'm like, hey, my job is to cultivate an environment for you. If you love this thing, let's go play. If you don't like football, it's okay too. I just want to cultivate an environment of whatever you love. And it's fun because my boys do love football. And so I'm there to provide the resource for them at any capacity. But when they do give me their attention, I do try and teach them. I try and make it math. And this is where I would tell you, it's literally like, one, go perfect your craft. You can, if you're a wide receiver, you can go practice running routes outside. You could study guys on YouTube now. Like when I grew up, I had a VHS. Nick, you might know this, Nicholas, right? Like,
yes, sir.
You put the VHS in and rewind it and everything. And I broke VHSs by the number of times I went back and forth with it. Videotape would actually be like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. Oh, you couldn't just go click in and be like, throwing motion, wide receiver routes, O-line blocking. Like you can look up anything now. There's so much at your disposal to look up and do it. And so much of it's the mental makeup of the kid. But for me, when I teach the kids, the biggest thing is like, it'll always go back to reps and just doing it over and over and over again. My job as a parent, I feel like, is to give them the way to think and to, if there's one gift that the good Lord provided me, it was that I could learn how to learn faster. As silly as that sounds, I was able to be like, Go back to that play. Okay, I made a mistake. Why did I make a mistake? Well, it's because the O lineman got beat. Okay, but what was I thinking before the play? Was I trying to get that first down no matter what on 3rd and 8? We had to do this. What's the score of the game? How much time is left? You know, what is our defense good? I mean, there's so many things that go into it. So I just try and teach them how to think, but it's about reps technically for kids. Just have them go out and do it. And if they do it over and over again, you know, there's always technique involved, but ultimately that's going to be the secret.
Tony, the thing you just hit, I think, is interesting as a parent now that has a 19 and a 22-year-old is you asking your kids how you used to ask yourself versus telling them what to do. And it causes them to think about it. Now they have better resources than we have, but hey, they can jump on YouTube. They can go and ask somebody else that's 2 or 3 years older. And when you do that, you're challenging them, but they're doing it themselves versus having somebody regurgitate. What do you think about that?
That's literally how I coach and teach in some ways, is to be like, so for the first time, I actually got out of the house. When I say that, I've always been a consultant for the teams because I'm not going to coach because I'm like, it's not time to do that yet and everything. But whenever the coaches ask, I'm always like, well, we might want to try this or do this a little bit, you know. But ultimately with the kids, when I coached last year for the first time, because I had my older 2 were on the same team for the first time and probably the only time ever, because they're at different schools and they're about to go on and play tackle. So it was flag. And I was like, all right, I'll coach. But every time I asked them, I was like, so what's our job? Oh, not to let them inside. What did you do? You let them inside. Oh, wait, is that good or bad? Oh, that's bad. Okay, what are we not going to do next time? Let them inside. Oh my gosh, we got better. Let's go. Right. And so literally them figuring it out on their own is the secret. And so every time I talk to them, just to your point, it was talking to them and teaching. It's literally being a teacher. And the more you can let them figure it out on their own, and the more you can actually explain it to where they get to have ownership of what they figured out, it's better for them. And so I just try and do that. And it's teaching. It's just teaching over and over. But the more I talk, like I'm doing too much right now, but the more I talk, the less they hear. So it's literally asking them. I ask them far more than tell them. That's probably one of my secret sauces about coaching.
Oh man. And parenting. Clearly. That's awesome. And it's good because I think we have a lot of parents on the call because we're getting a lot of questions around this topic because I think it's hard to be a parent and a coach, probably even harder to be a player coaching kids. It's like there's a lot that's there. So I'm going to ask you a couple other questions along this line because we have a lot here. So this is around just, I think you're experiencing every level of the game. You've seen youth, you've seen pros. We want to get your opinion on what's happening specifically with youth athletes. So one question we have is, how do you see the transfer portal and NIL affecting college football and the development of young athletes?
Well, I see different forms there. So from a parental perspective, it's a good thing. Like I remember growing up, I went to East Illinois on a partial scholarship, and I was fortunate enough to win Conference Player of the Year 3 years in a row, and then eventually won our Heisman at that level, the Walter Payton Award. There was no opportunity to like transfer at that time, and I went undrafted. Now, don't get me wrong, I stunk. Like, so I wouldn't have drafted me either at that time. I had to improve because I had to perfect my craft of throwing a ball. Because if you went there and watched, you'd be like, yeah, he's not that good. And I would agree with him. But I improved and got better and better. But if you're a parent, I think it's a great thing because it allows your kid to go to the right environment, like there was a kid named Julius Davis who came and was a Prop 48 who was at Syracuse, had a full scholarship there and ended up coming to Eastern Illinois. And they were so excited. One of the top recruits we ever had. He came there to play quarterback. And I was now becoming a redshirt sophomore. And it's my team doing all the off-season workouts. You're a leader of the team. And it's going to be my turn because the other quarterbacks had left. But they're, as coaches and everything, you can go talk to them to this day. They know this kid's going to be the guy. So they're waiting for me to not perform well so they can put him in. We've seen this a million times. And I was lucky enough to go, my first game was against Indiana State, and I was like 13 for 13 for 220 yards, couple touchdowns, so I didn't have an incompletion. So it's like, you can't take me out yet, right? So then the next game, we're going against Toledo, who was ranked in the top 25 at the time. They just beat Penn State. We go to that game, and then I set like the school record for yards, and we lose right at the end of the game. Well, this kid, Julius Davis, never got the opportunity to play college football at the quarterback position. He ended up becoming a wide receiver for me my senior year and everything, because he was the same age. And that hurts my heart in some ways, because I'm like, this would have been a great college quarterback. And so the transfer portal doesn't allow that situation to continue to happen. So I weirdly have an affinity for it in that regard. They need to get the rules down. They need to have it in place to where it's not, you can go twice a year. I think they just switched that to where it's now once a year. But I also believe it's just going to go to a collective bargaining agreement at some point here, just like the NFL, where it'll be like free agency, but you can't have free agents every 6 months.
Right.
Like that was too much. It's just crazy on coaches, teams. I mean, it takes a while to learn a system. There's so much there, but it's a great thing for parents and kids so they don't get stuck in a position. Julius Davis could have been a great quarterback in another situation. And if I was behind him, he'd have been playing and I would have been stuck in the same spot.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's diluted the college game, the quality, because of all the transfers now where kids can't learn offenses because they're switching 2-3 times, and the coach is kind of a chief retention manager as opposed to recruiting and running the team?
Yeah, it's both ways. So there's free agency basically in college football. So in other words, if a guy leaves, you can go get somebody else, where you couldn't really do that near as much before. So you have the resources to go and actually bring in talent quickly. But it's a challenge for coaches in the system. And so I think the biggest thing is to set up the organization correctly to where, what does the data tell us on how many guys are going to leave? So when you go recruit all these guys and they come in, when on average we lose 8 guys a year, 12, 20, 3, whatever it is. Okay, well, we need to be prepared to bring in this. What are the positions that keep happening? How many guys are 5-star recruits that are going to leave? How many are this? Boom, boom. So we need to go ahead and get that type of level of talent coming in. The challenge, though, is it's hard to get better at football changing systems every year, because your brain has to think. So when I call a play, and I've been in the system for a while as a quarterback, the same as wide receivers, old linemen, running backs, tight ends, whoever it is, I know my job cold, and I know the possibilities and all the nuance. If he blitzes, I'm hot. Now I'm here. When it's cover 2, it's this. Well, in this system, that changes, and you're like, wait, what was the call? What do I do? Okay, just do my job. You're not thinking of the next level stuff. So I think it's a challenge each year you go on if you're not in the system for a long time. And that's why I think you're seeing, it take time for some of the young guys when they get to the NFL.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I love this question. It's from Ashley Bryan. She plays semi-pro women's tackle football for the WFA.
Nice.
Yes, awesome.
I love it.
Do you have any advice for all of us women who never got the opportunity to play Rocket or even high school football? And now we feel we're playing catch up on learning the skills and strategies of the game.
I love that. I mean, my wife was all state in 3 sports in high school. And I look back, I'm like, you would have loved this right now, what's going on. And then the Olympics with flag football.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help but think about like where this is all going to go one day. And I think that's such a great thing. And I think you'll find really quickly that it's just a matter of time before. I mean, it's great for football in general. The more people who enjoy football, the better football is. So like the NFL, fantasy football helped build the NFL to be bigger than it was back then. This is going to help that same thing. And then just getting more people involved is a positive. And I think there's so many young women, young girls who just love the game and want to compete and play. And I always want it to be like, how do we go past high school? Not just before there was nothing. They could play as the youngster, and then it was like, okay, your time's done. And then it was like, oh, I always hated that. And I'm like, now hopefully there's something that keeps going. But I love that. I think this is a great thing. And I think that it's not that hard. You can look and learn the game online from listening to this, studying it, like things like that, and being a part of it. The more you're around anything, you'll learn fast.
Yeah, I think that's more her question. Like, What can she do? How can she catch up? She feels a little bit like, man, I didn't have the chance. So are there any tips that you can give her as far as specifically like learning the skills and the strategies of the game, aside from like watching and being around it? Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be like, what position does she play? So
All
there's
right.
nuance to
You can
that.
write it and tell us.
But I will say this. At its core, the game is leverage and angles and your will. So I call my defense with the kids law defense. So I'm like, I'm going to set you up in the right leverage pre-snap. You're going to take the correct angle to go make a tackle, let's say on defense. You take the correct angle and you send it back. So if there's two people going to tackle someone, if we both go onto this shoulder, that person can go that way. But if you take this shoulder and I take this shoulder and we both stay on that shoulder, they can only go one way and then you have them. So it's like leverage, angles, and your will. That's literally what the game comes down to. Take the correct leverage on your route. Use the correct angle when you come out. Don't keep going high and wide because then the guy can undercut you. The girl can undercut you. The idea is just it's leverage, angles, and then your will to bring it every play.
All right. She's receiver and cornerback, just in case that matters.
There you go, right there. So
Okay.
on defense, send it back to your help. If you miss on the correct side where, oh, I didn't get him, but my help is coming right here. But if I miss on this one, there's no help.
Yeah.
Send them back to your help.
That's awesome. Okay, good. Thanks, Tony. And keep these questions coming. I love that we have this caliber of people who are on the call. We have a ton of people listening in today. So thank you guys for being here. This is an incredible opportunity to hear from Tony and also to hear from Nick around this opportunity for investment, which is great. So one quick investment question, Nick, if you don't mind answering. So we have a question from Mike Bass. He spent 10 years in the NFL in the 70s, and he's just wondering a little bit more about what the process is of investing and what the organizational structure is of Light Helmets. So what are we doing here? We're doing equity crowdfunding. Can you just give a tiny little blurb of, what this structure is and what the process is for investors?
I'm going to go ahead. Nicholas.
Oh yeah, I kind of want Tony to answer it, but go ahead.
It's Nicholas.
Mike Bass. I mean, it's the Mike Bass. I mean,
Yeah,
we should have you sitting in the office here, right, Tony?
Yeah, I was like,
I think it's the Mike Bass.
Unbelievable. Well, Mike, we're going to put a statue of you in the lobby just because you called in today. So the crowdfunding component of this was really born out of the opportunity to like build a team of ambassadors. There's been 2 helmet companies for 100 years and others have shown up and disappeared. And if we try to, chase the market the way everyone else is doing, it'll really be a tough, mound for us to crest. So what we want to do is have ambassadors that are invested in the product, that believe in it. And, traditional investors, we've raised in excess of $16 million since we started this, at the end of 2018. And those include guys like Tony, Fred Smith, who just passed away, who founded FedEx, Tyrod Taylor, the founder of Skills, John Sarkeesian, a couple of Navy SEALs, a very eclectic group of people. But one thing that we know is that when people buy these helmets, when their kids wear them, when they wear them in high school, when they wear them in college, even the pros, Michael Strahan called us and outfitted his college. Tyrod Taylor picked up the phone and called me and he's like, man, I want these for my high school. We have the rock star Mark Bauman, who's #1 tight end in the country at Mater Dei. He got us in that school. And what we need is more ambassadors that believe in the technology, that understand that these advanced materials and the weight give you not only an advantage from a protective perspective, but also from a performance perspective. If you think about my background, let's say in racing, Mercedes would spend $1 million to take 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds off a car. Imagine being able to take 2 or 3 pounds off a 200-pound player or a 100-pound player and off the worst part of the body possible. So what this crowdfunding opportunity allows is for everyone that whether it's $100, whether it's $500, $5,000, whatever you can afford, it gives you an opportunity to become an ambassador, to be part of the family, to be a proponent of change. The game has changed in increments over time. The coaching has changed. The turf has changed. The way that we treat injury has changed. The psychology in terms of how do we treat the kids when they make a mistake has changed. the head protection is changing, but this is not an evolutionary change. It's really revolutionary. And we need the ambassadors to help push it along. And, Tony is one of those and certainly has been very impactful.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, that's the Mike Bass I'm thinking of. It's the Washington now Commanders. I think he was the cornerback back in the day. I wonder if he was with George Allen. Can you ask him that? Was George Allen?
Mike, you can get in here, we can, get him in here. Write in, Mike.
I love it if it's even if it's not the Mike Bass, we love him anyway.
Different one is great too.
We want to know, are you the same one? And if so, tell us more information, but keep going, Tony.
Well, I think the game, like Nick was just saying, when I got in the league, you get a concussion and you come right back in, right? Yeah. And as parents were like, well, that's silly. But it was like, hold on, give me a minute. And there was no data on this and everything. So it's a good thing. And I think one of the great things and why I'm so passionate about this is just having people who are doing the right thing for the kids with a product that is awesome. That is also, like he said, you lose a pound. If you lost a pound on your shoulder pads, a pound here, 2 pounds here, it's like you're faster. Like, it's not rocket science. It's like we're all trying to do that. I mean, think about the pads back in the day. That's what I was going to ask Mike. I was like, I remember these things were like here, and we're always getting smaller. Why? Because we want to have better performance, and we want to be safe with better performance. Well, that's what light is doing. And I think that's just why this thing has such a home run aspect to it.
Yeah. Even look at the pants now. When I played back in the 80s, you had thigh pads, tailbone pad.
Every pad under the side. Remember the sides?
Yeah. And now you have none of that. And there was a guy in the Seahawks that was, shaving off part of the shoulder pads. Exactly. And you're saving ounces, right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
So along those lines, we have a couple questions around things that are happening with helmets today. We have some questions around players wearing Guardian caps. Why wouldn't you just make the helmet itself bigger is one question. And then another question is around position-made helmets. Is that a necessity? Is it a gimmick? I don't know if that's a Nick question, a Tony question, but people are like, what the heck's going on here with all this newfangled tech as it relates to helmets? What do we need? What don't we need? What's essential? What do we need to focus our sights on?
It's a great question. I'm going to let Nicholas start off. You go ahead and go with that one first. Nick,
sure. So 2 separate questions, and then I'll turn it over to Tony. The Guardian cap. We love the people that own Guardian. There was a need. Concussions were up in 2022 in the NFL. I think about 18%. They were up again in 2023. 2024, they went down a little bit, but the kickoff changed.
That's
the big thing, and I'm not saying the helmet tech and the NFL is not doing a great job on the helmet side, but you have Olympic quality athletes that run 22, 23 miles an hour, and it's a collision sport. There's no way really to measure in college the frequency of concussion because there's not one body that's collecting that data. And the NFL does collect that data, and they needed a solution, something that was additive, meaning you have thousands and thousands of helmets that are already on all of these teams. What can we do? And the Guardian cap was a solution. Is that the longest term solution, the best solution? That's arguable. It may be. We've got some opinions on, hey, it increases the size, it increases the mass. Any piece of protective equipment is a compromise of some type. Now, when you move on to position specific, at least in the NFL, where, the coffers are deep, right? They can write big checks. So let's say even at a school like Utah, our quarterback there, he's got 10 helmets. There's, 4 different color liveries. And because he's got coach to player, there's a backup for every one of those, and then 2 practice helmets. The issue becomes in the NFL, hey, Tony's not going to all of a sudden go and start playing free safety. He's going to play quarterback because he's played quarterback through his whole career, and that's his specialty. A quarterback takes different types of impacts than an offensive lineman or a safety. So the NFL analyzes those impacts. Then they cater the specs for that particular helmet to those impacts. Now, you can't foresee everything, but they're trying to use the math and the data to make the best decisions. But if you're a high school player, you may switch from quarterback to receiver. That helmet might be worn by somebody else the next year. So it's a little bit different, but we have to remember that the NFL impact, size, mass, speed of the game is far different than even college. And even the NFL calls it out and says, hey, our helmet testing is not to be used or extrapolated to the college, high school, or youth level. And parents need to know that. And that's why Virginia Tech is so important in terms of looking at other independent labs that rank helmets, and they're really the gold standard. And Tony, I'm sure you've got other thoughts on this.
No, that's almost exactly to a T what I was going to say. I mean, that's really well said, because when we talk about young kids playing football, you have to understand the hits in the NFL are dramatically different. So it's like you have real speed going on at a very high level. And so, when your kids are like roughhousing in the house, I may have had that a few times with three boys sitting around here, just on the couch. I'm always like, someone's going to get hurt or whatever. I'm like, if you put two NFL people in there doing the same thing, someone's getting hurt.
Yeah.
And so it's just a hair different in a lot of ways. So you just want a safe helmet. I don't think you have to be position specific at a young age. I think the older you get, that's when it matters, and the better you get. But that's not the normal consumer, that I would say, from my perspective. And I feel like they will get eventually to that. Everyone will, but it's not really a thing right now that I say, this is the secret sauce to make sure your son is going to be perfect, or the kids, whatever it is. It's just, we're trying to find a way to be safe with the collisions they have at that age. And it's never been safer than right now, especially with what Light's doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the helmet, go find a 5-star helmet rated at Virginia Tech.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Most people don't know about the colors.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, they rate the whole system. Like, this helmet is this color. They've outlawed in the NFL coloring. I remember even me when I was playing, it was right there at the end where they're like, you've got 1 year, Tony. Aaron Rodgers just had to go through it. Like, all the old veterans are like, wait, what? I've been wearing this helmet forever. They're like, that helmet doesn't work anymore. That's not good. And you
Totally
don't want to change. But I tell my kids, I'm like, guys, have you ever looked on TV and been like, ugh, look at that helmet. It just looks terrible. I'm like, I've never said that of you. But when you go look at it, you're like, oh, that one doesn't look as good as that one. I'm like, well, guess what? That one's the safest one. And if you get one less concussion in the next 2 years or two or something because of it, probably want to do that, because nobody else cares about what you think about a look or something. And the truth is, we're always trying to make it look sleeker and cool and then all these things. But it really matters about comfort and just safety. And that's what I keep reminding them.
That's exactly right. There's a couple questions. So we did have Mike Bass right back in. Whether it's the Mike Bass or not, we'll find out. But he says our battles with the Cowboys were legendary.
Yeah, that's the mic.
It might be the mic. As a defensive back, when helmets were not the greatest, I can really appreciate the benefits of a scientifically designed helmet. So Mike wants to know, what is it about Light that makes Light better than other traditional helmets? So maybe in a short snapshot, what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Nicholas.
So the big thing is, the NFL rates these helmets, Virginia Tech rates these helmets, and they're basing it on the impact data that they go out and they collect. So we design the helmet to protect against those impacts. And that's why we're the #1 position, new position helmet for quarterback, O-line, and D-line for 2025 in the NFLPA NFL. And #1 at Virginia Tech for youth and varsity. The second component of that is you got to be able to absorb the impacts that are foreseeable, but then reduce the weight of the helmet. If you have a helmet that weighs 3 pounds more, and I'm running a seam route, and I get, hit in a 50G impact, that's an extra 150 pounds snapping around on my cervical structure. And so that weight is a huge component. And how many times do we see a quarterback get hit and their head slams back in the ground? Because that extra weight is something that you cannot manage in these bigger hits. So reduce the weight. And then I would say the third thing is fitment. If you can buy the best helmet it can be the best rated, it can be perfect for that level of play, but unless it fits your player correctly, you have a problem. So you have to measure your player correctly, but our helmets, all the way from the youth helmet to the expensive NFL helmets, they can be customized to the head shape. Our competition only does scans for helmets that are $1,000 plus that fit the kid's head exactly. But the younger players don't have that opportunity. With the light helmets, they come with between 15 and 20 contact patches that you can adjust. So whether your head looks like Ernie from Sesame Street or Bert, we can get a perfect fit.
Believe me, that I can't even add to that. That's so well said. It's so true too, because I love the Bert and Ernie. That's
Nobody watching knows that other than you and I and Mike Bass.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. And believe me, when Mike played, the rules were very different. I mean, very different. He played in an era that was, when people talk about, not getting hit, I'm like, football is very difficult. People are getting hit this day when they're like, it's soft or something like that. I'm like, you have no idea. It's incredibly aggressive, incredibly challenging. But now go look at when he played.
Yeah.
In the 70s. I'm like, you want to talk about hitting people? You went across the middle, the rules there. It's why you never had small receivers in the slot, because they weren't going to survive. Now we've made it where you can't hit to the head and neck area, certain things of that. But ultimately, when you get hit in the head, when you fall, the ground, Nicholas's point was really well made about the ground. When you hit there, the more weight you have technically is actually one of the areas that's the biggest reason why light helmets are the best.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to switch just a couple questions. I don't know how much time you have, Tony, but we're going to maximize every bit of it. If you have to go pick up one of your boys, just let us know and we'll let you go, and Nick can answer the rest of the questions. But we're very grateful for your time. We literally have a flood of questions coming in across all topics, and we'll just get to as many as we can. And you guys, I'll try to get back to everyone as much as possible after this with these answers. But thank you, Tony, again, for being here. You are an investor in light, which really says a lot. And I think one of the questions that is coming up is, what you've seen other bigger companies like Riddell, you've seen these big companies. So what is it that excites you about light specifically? And what, you have, I guess you're one of the few people, you've been inside the game and now you're investing in the future of the game. So what is it that stands out to you about light? How do you look at light, and why do you see that light has potential for the future?
Well, I think Nick talked about it earlier. It's really hard to get into this world. Like, it really is. It's like they've had a monopoly in some ways on this whole environment. I just know from personal experience where it's like, it's this or that. And it's like you choose. And then I remember being like, well, this looks better. And it's like, who's your hero? What does he wear? Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of goes into it. And I think we're trying to get people to recognize, like, I want younger kids ultimately at the core to start with the light helmet, because once you start wearing something, you will wear it the rest of your time. And remember the story I just told you about when they said, like, hey, this helmet's outdated, like it's not as good. And I'm like, whoa, what? I've been wearing this forever. Why did I wear it forever? Well, I guess because I picked it a long time ago.
Yep.
For no real reason other than the fact that they gave me 3 options or 2 options. And I was like, that one looks good. That was literally how simple it was. And now I'm like, let's be smarter than that. Let's do the right thing here. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I was like, let's help this process, because we want all of our kids and, teenagers, and then obviously older, to just do the right thing, because it's so silly that you don't take the most safe helmet, especially one that actually makes you possibly faster.
Exactly. That's great. Okay. Mike says, Tony, you're absolutely right. We love to see receivers go over the middle. Yeah. And then we got a question for Nick, which is, can you just give a little bit of overview? I know we're not talking a lot about investing, and I know there's other questions from angel investors and people who are interested in investing. We're going to, we don't answer your question now, I promise you we'll write you back and give you all the details, but he's just wondering, like, is there a minimum or a maximum investor amount, and what are you actually getting for your investment?
Nicholas, go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tony, I thought you were going to handle this one. No, I'm kidding. So
Tony can say from the heart, I'm sure, but go ahead, Nick.
I will.
The chunk that we're raising for crowdfunding right now, your investment gets the same value as, let's say, Dennis Pitta, who just, put in $250,000. So, if you put in $250, which you can do, the amount's proportionate to what you're investing. So you're investing alongside of the people in this Series A round, and you're getting the same value that they are. Will that change in the future after this round is over? It might, but that's why this opportunity is unique. And there's no helmet company right now in any sport that is owned by the players for the players. And we can go through the list. You've got Tony. Mark Sanchez had a rough weekend, but Mark Sanchez, we can go through Cam Jordan, Tyrod Taylor, Darius Robinson, Dennis Pitta, Drew Stanton. I mean, there's a dozen plus, and also other business people in this space. And I will say that in the auto race space and in the military space, they've known for a long time that weight is the enemy in impacts. And in something in the military or something in auto racing, when it fails, the potential is catastrophic. And this technology started with Bill Simpson from Simpson Race Products. And we purchased that technology from Bill. And he was very frustrated with the NFL and equipment managers and the monopoly. And he said to me, he's like, Nick, he's like, I think you're the only one that can do this. And, I didn't play a lot of college football, but I played a little bit. I did race automobiles for a long time. And that weight, even when you're driving and not in an accident, but just 2-3 Gs, thousands of times in a weekend, it breeds fatigue, and fatigue causes injuries. And that's why this is so important. But back to the investment component of it, this is an opportunity, if you love the game of football, to participate shoulder to shoulder with people that you've watched on television, that are not putting money in this because they're going to gain some notoriety, but because they care about the game. And that was one of the things that struck me with Tony or Dennis Pitta or any of the other retired players is, I wish I had this when I played. I want this for my kids. We love the game of football because it teaches grit and determination and goal setting and focus. And no one cares what color someone is or size somebody is in the huddle. That this is what America should be. And to allow kids to play it, we need to get rid of, the fear and the stigma of, man, I got to buy a helmet from one of these two companies. What's new? Well, this company's got 10 doctors on the advisory board. It's owned by NFL players. And that's what's unique. And that's what you can be a part of. So in terms of the actual value on the website, you can go through and it'll show you exactly, what the offering is, but you are shoulder to shoulder with the people that are investing in this round.
And I'll add this to that. Like Nick, the man who's actually running the entire thing, right? Who started this and did everything. He's telling you the truth 100%. Like literally anybody who invests is literally getting the exact same thing I'm getting. Like, and that's a rare thing in some ways. Now, after the Series A and everything goes around, that'll change down the road. But right now, there's no question that's 100% factual. And I feel like that's a good thing because it's the Green Bay Packers. Okay, yes. If you look at them, that's just what I thought of. Like, they are a publicly owned team, technically, at their core, where you can buy a piece of the Green Bay Packers, right? And actually be a part of it. Now, granted, some people do it for $1 just to say they have that. But I think the funny part is, though, there's real money to be made. And there's also a part of it that says it's the right thing. And I don't just randomly do things for like stuff like this, right? It's because it's the right thing. And also it's going to win. Like, it's just a matter of time. And so to me, stuff like that's like, for me to put time in, money in, I don't do that very often. So I think that you'll see this play out the way I think it will.
I just want to add to that too, is that football is a huge opportunity. And we have an opportunity we're battling these two giants, but we've already shown that we can make a superior product, a lighter weight, competitive price, better service. But think about all the other opportunities. We have the #1 flag football headgear already at Virginia Tech, the #1 soccer headgear. We have a hockey helmet in development. We are looking at construction, military, and other space, because the head protection space is not just in football. The bright spotlight has been on football.
So did I invest in that as well?
You did.
Okay, good. Just want to make
You're
are.
in.
Investing in light is investing in everything. I think that's a really cool part of this. So
I didn't even know all of that. Now I'm more excited.
There you
I
go.
wasn't
Yep.
before. I'm more.
yeah.
We'll take another check.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this though. I do think that the funny part, just when you go through it, is how I was at the NFL seminar, and we do this every year, and we go through the league rules and everything, and so much of it comes back to the helmet. We go through this, and this is in August. Every year I go through it, and all of a sudden, for the first time, here's light helmets right there at the top with these other ones, and I was like, there we go. We're putting a dent, and they were right next to them, and they were showing, there's the coloring class, Nick,
Yep.
where they sit there and they put them, and I was like, we were right there, and the people have the monopoly, and I was like, that's really fast for a young organization / group here. So I think it's going the right way.
It's exciting. I mean, and it's the company's not just me. I mean, we've got a marketing partner that works with us. PR Inc. magazine just did a big story on the company. We've got some brilliant folks internally here. Our head engineer, Kodiak Brush, who played football at MIT. Try to find another one of those, right? We've got a production partner, Clyde, that won the NFL Head Health Tech Challenge. They're based out of Montreal, and they do a lot of the additive manufacturing, 3D printing for us. A brilliant group of characters that contribute to what we're doing. And then we've got these doctors, from Peter Cummins to the head of Baptist Health Neurology, to Tal David, who's a foremost orthopedic specialist in the NFL and was the Chargers lead physician. All of these people are involved with this. It's not just Tony and I. And that's really where the beauty of this comes, is it's not just a corporation owned by a PE firm. Like, these are people that wore helmets on a racetrack, in the military, or playing football.
That's great. Oh my gosh, we're getting so many comments and people are just loving this. So thank you guys. Thanks. I think it's really amazing to have someone like Tony, who's on our player advisory board, who isn't just an investor, also has a voice in shaping the path of the company. I think it's fabulous, and people are really, really loving this. Don't get bought out by Riddell. Just a few comments. Nick, do not.
Well, you never know. How much will they actually offer?
No, that's a good.
There'll be a bigger monopoly, antitrust. I don't think it'll ever happen.
That will be an antitrust lawsuit.
But I think everyone would kill me if I did not ask a little bit about the Cowboys. Tony, lots of questions about the Cowboys. So we're going to
before I go, you're just going to hit me with the Cowboys.
I mean, we're going to frame it in this way. Tell us about healthy team culture. What do you see building a healthy team culture? How do you think that's showing up? Anything you might want to share?
Are we talking about the Cowboys or healthy team culture in general?
We'll talk about well, you can lead it from here, wherever you want to go.
I'm really impressed. Dak Prescott is playing some of the best football of his career. He's played really well, like some high level football before but right now it reminds me of some years where he really has to carry the team in some ways as the defense gets it figured out, and they played better last week. But I feel like, without studying it cold, because I haven't done their game yet, so I sprinkle it in. But what I'm seeing right now is an offensive unit. I'm impressed with Schottenheimer, the head coach, the system that they're running. They are a formidable opponent. Now, the NFC is very difficult to come through, and just to make the playoffs, you're going to have to be a really good team. This is going to be one of the rare years where there's going to be 2 or 3 teams who are playoff worthy who don't make the playoffs. Usually it's like the last team in's like, okay, but the last team in this year is going to be like a team you probably don't want to face. And so to me, I just think the Cowboys have a really unique chance with how Dak's playing with the coach. When the defense comes along, and Eberflus is slowly going to get it figured out because it's a new system. It's like having a new teacher with the same thing, but it's like the first year rookie quarterback. It's like he needs time to learn the whole thing. It's the same thing with a coach. And so they're learning the whole new system. So I don't know. It just feels like the Cowboys have a chance, and a real chance. And this is when CD gets back and they're healthy, I think this team is scary because this offensive unit is playing some high level football. Your second question was about.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good. I think one last question, just because we're kind of wrapping up here, would just be for you. In light of everything we've talked about, you're an investor. You made the decision. You weighed the pros and cons. You're looking at the future of football. You're looking at the sport. You're looking at technology. What do you want to say out there to anyone? Because there's lots of investors on the call today who are thinking about it. Money is precious, and they want to invest in something that's going to really be meaningful. So tell me, like, what advice would you give to those investors? What was your experience, and what would you tell them?
Well, I think it's exactly what, sometimes when you invest with the company, you like see things after the fact. There's nothing here. Like this is 100% what you hear is what you get. And when I say that, I want to invest with something that's going to make money. Also, something like if you're lucky enough to invest in something that you believe in and that has the ability to go do it and you see the future of it, I'm like, well, that's light because it's just a win-win-win in all three of those levels because I want to, I got three boys, right? So they're going to play football, they're playing tackle. And I'm like, well, this is exactly what I would have worn as a kid if somebody would have given me information. And so I'm like, I want to push this out there as much as I can simply because I'm like, it's better for your son. It's better for the kids. It's better for all of it because they're going to be healthier, they're faster, all these things all rolled into one. On top of it, if you're an investor at this stage, you're going to make money. But I don't know. It's just a win-win across the board. And I think I just want people to be healthy, play the best football possible. And I'm just excited to be part of the group. And that's what I would say.
That's amazing. And so many parents are writing in too, Tony, and I think they really admire you and they admire your spirit. And a lot of what you said earlier is such good guidance and such good words of wisdom. So thanks for sharing that on that level. I'm really impressed by you and all kind of just everything you've shared today. It's really powerful.
Will you share that with my wife so she
I
can
will.
be really impressed?
I absolutely will.
Candace,
I want to add
I'm actually okay.
one quick thing.
Go ahead, Nick.
She's getting props. This will be recorded, so I'll send this at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like you. I mean, we did this. We're here to make money, but we're also here because we care about the kids. One of the reasons we did this was I was going to coach my son's Pop Warner, and now he's in college, but he played football at the highest level at a big high school, and his mom was worried about him getting dinged up. And I knew
we all are.
And we all are, right? And I'm also worried about the kids playing hockey, and I'm worried about the kids playing lacrosse. And I look at the quality, like in hockey, there's 2 or 3 companies only making helmets, but in the football space, Tony has had a remarkable career as a player. And as a broadcaster, he didn't have to go and do this. He could have taken the safe route and not been on here today stressed, having to run out to do this call. But also because he cares about the game of football, as do I. But when you look at the people that played it the longest, the people that are invested in the company, that should tell you something right there, that there's a need for this product and it is different. And the ratings prove it, the doctors prove it, et cetera, how the helmet performs on field. But also because we care about the game. It all affected us differently, but we all look around when people are in the room. No one will ever say, God, I wish I didn't play football. They never do. They're like, it was such a huge foundational element of all of us. And when you have somebody, though, that played at the highest level, that demonstrates not only as an investor or an advocate, but also that their kids are going to wear it. I don't think you can get a better endorsement. And Tony, I really appreciate you being involved, but also your commitment to the game after you've left.
You're too nice. You're making me blush, guys. Thank you.
We appreciate you so much. We're at 5:01. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. So many questions. I'm sorry we could not get to all of them, but we will try our best. If you guys have any direct questions, please, you're welcome to send those to me. Also, I put a link to the WeFunder in the chat, so if you guys want to check that out. Otherwise, we look forward to building an amazing company together with Tony as an investor by our side, leading the charge with Nick as our CEO. and all the amazing people in the community and the movement. This is a movement that we're building. This is not just a company. This is a movement, and this is something bigger than all of us. And I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to have Tony here, and we're all here, and look forward to seeing you guys again at our next one. So thanks a bunch, everyone.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tony. Appreciate you being
Bye,
part of it.
Tony.
Thank you.
You
Take
guys.
care.
You guys are
Good
awesome.
job, Sarah.
See you later.